Canelo Alvarez is considered one of the best boxers of this generation. But believe it or not, Alvarez was a kid who was bullied throughout his school life. Deciding that enough was enough, the future boxing star started training at the age of 13 under Jose Chepo Reynoso and his son Eddie to get the bullies off of his back. Nevertheless, Alvarez dominated as an amateur boxer and managed to win the 2005 Junior Mexican National Boxing Championship. At the age of 15, Alvarez turned professional, and the kid that was bullied growing up was knocking out pros in Mexico left and right. By the time Alvarez was 17, he had 13 wins under his belt and 0 losses. The Mexico native fought for his first title on August 31, 2007, beating Ricardo Cano by unanimous decision to capture the Jalisco welterweight title. Alvarez continued to dominate in Mexico, dropping Sean Hawley, Axel Rodrigo Solis, and Francisca Villanueva before competing for another championship in his home state. And guess what? Alvarez beat Gabriel Martinez for the Fede Centro welterweight title. Coming in, the fellow Mexican was also riding an undefeated streak, dropping locals and Americans since his professional debut in 2005. Martinez had a strong record of 16-0, which was changed to 16-1 following his bout against Alvarez. Soon, the welterweight would make his debut in the United States, fighting Larry Mosley in Cabazon, California. Alvarez's debut was a success, and the boxer had a record of 22 wins. It's a rarity that boxers achieve such a record without taking at least one loss, so the big question is, what kind of training does Alvarez do to remain in top shape for every fight? For starters, Canelo runs every morning except Sunday around 6 a.m. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Canelo trains hard in the gym from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. The exercises usually stem from jumping rope, shadow boxing, hitting the bag, to basic training methods most fighters use. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays focus on sparring sessions starting at 2:30 p.m. In terms of diet, egg whites with olive oil, a piece of ham, and fresh fruit fuel Canelo in the morning. For lunch, a grilled or smoked piece of chicken, a side of vegetables like carrots or broccoli. Canelo only has a protein shake for his dinner, though he does snack on fruits and vegetables. Canelo continued to rack up wins and titles throughout Mexico, notably beating Antonio Fitch to win the vacant WBC NABF welterweight title. His next bout was a winner-takes-all type of fight when he fought Yuri Gonzalez for the WBO Latino welterweight title. Gonzalez was another undefeated fighter in Mexico, with the Dominican also winning the WBO Intercontinental belt earlier in his career. Once again, an undefeated fighter didn't stain Canelo's record, as the welterweight won via TKO in the 11th round. Following this huge victory, Canelo's record stood at 25 wins with 5 championship belts around his waist. And as time went on, his star continued to rise thanks to his dominance inside of the squared circle. Canelo captured the WBC Youth Welterweight title, WBC Silver Light Middleweight title, and WBC Light Middleweight title by the time his fight against Sugar Shane Mosley rolled around. The Mexican native had dropped solid fighters such as Carlos Herrera, Jose Cotto, Luciano Leonel Cuello, and Matthew Hatton. Canelo had a stunning record of 39-0, however, to get that rare 40-0 win, that multi-time world champion had to beat the veteran Mosley first. If you don't know who Sugar Shane Mosley is, then you've been sleeping under a rock. Considered one of the best to ever put on the gloves, the veteran had high-profile matches against Oscar De La Hoya, Vernon Forrest, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Manny Pacquiao. Mosley was coming off big losses against Mayweather and Pacquiao. However, with 35 recorded knockouts under his name, it would be stupid for any fighter not to take him seriously. However, the advantage that Canelo had during the fight was his youth and power. Let's be honest, Sugar Shane Mosley wasn't the same guy that ruled the sport at age 40, but the veteran still put up a fight regardless. Canelo knocked Mosley silly several times with right and left hooks and dominated a good portion of the fight. At the time, a 21-year-old Canelo had achieved the rare 40-0 stat, and following his victories over Josito Lopez and Austin Trout, the boxing prospect had collected another belt, the WBA and the Ring Light Middleweight titles. But now, Canelo would face his toughest challenge to date, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Of course, Mayweather wasn't too much of a big deal. His record was only 44-0. Mayweather was a hot star in boxing, but a highly tough competitor due to technical brilliance inside of the boxing ring. However, this wasn't the first time that Canelo faced an undefeated fighter. Did the kid from Mexico slay another giant? Unfortunately, no. Canelo gave a valiant effort, but the pretty boy proved to be the king in that night. In the process, Canelo lost the WBC and Ring Light Middleweight Championship. However, that huge loss was a learning moment for Canelo, with the boxing prospect aiming to bounce back strong for his next fight following Mayweather Jr. That loss only motivated Canelo to train harder, with the multi-time world champion training harder than ever inside of a gym nearly every day of the week. His training patterns were mostly the same, but Canelo added several workouts to up his in-ring game. To keep in tip-top shape, Canelo did TRX straight and lateral knee crunches, bicycle crunches, jackknife sit-ups, heel touches, leg raises, kettlebell squats, bench dips, and resistance band crossovers. In terms of his diet, his food intake largely remained the same. On March 8, 2014, Canelo had his first bout since Mayweather, and the Mexican native showed no signs of slowing down as he KO'd Alfredo Angulo in round 10. Canelo didn't just score a brutal knockout, he destroyed Angulo in a one-sided affair. And with each performance by Canelo, the memory of his loss to Mayweather phased away slowly because the 30-year-old got better as time went on. Soon enough, Canelo started winning titles again. First the ring and vacant WBC middleweight titles from Miguel Cotto, then WBO light middleweight title from Liam Smith, followed by WBA Super, WBC, and vacant the ring middleweight titles, WBA regular super middleweight title, IBF middleweight title, WBO light heavyweight title, WBA Super, the ring, and WBC super middleweight titles, and WBO super middleweight title. At this moment, Canelo Alvarez's record currently stands at 56-1-2, with no signs of the elite boxer slowing down anytime soon.